crawling nation. This is Armored Mon. Welcome to the other side of live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the other side of live. I am your host, Armored Mon, and my co-host is Charles of the Bear Crawling Nation. Say hello, Charles.
Hello. Welcome to another version of the Bear Crawling Nation.
That's right.
The lighter side of it's like we should steal that from, what is it, JCPenney's? The lighter side of life.
The lighter side of life. Yeah, well, last week we had a Q&A variety show where it was just questions and answers. You called in, and that was a lot of fun. And since I am in transit, we are doing that again. It seems to be a pretty good theme that we may actually visit this a lot because I like doing that. Tonight, of course, we are changing it a little bit. Charles came up with a great suggestion. Do you want to mention what that is, Charles?
I was talking about the thing I keep facing in life right now is chasing your dream, which is the ultimate theme of what you talk about. It's always chasing and catching your dreams. And it's easy to talk about that, and it's easy to see the success stories of, well, I got my dream and I live it every day. But the middle ground, chasing your dream, takes you out of easy, takes you out of comfortable, and throws a lot of hard things your way.
Yep, definitely. Actually, the way you phrased it earlier, it takes you out of simple. But I think all those things are applicable, as you're moving forward with that, and certainly as I am moving towards my dreams, I am finding that out. I'm certainly out of simple right now. When I first started doing this, it was difficult doing the video blogs. I was all nervous about that, and then eventually that became easy peasy. And then keeping up with Facebook, and then beginning my podcasting. And then the big hurdle for me was the live show. It's like, ooh, I got to do this for an hour. I don't know if I can keep up with that. And eventually that became it. But always on the horizon is motivational speaking. And I am moving towards that with a slow pace of the Tortuga turtle that I am. But I am moving towards that. It certainly is taking me. It's actually moving into the work path that I have to do for that. It's not just fun now. Now I have to hone my skills and work my craft and set everything up so that it does become easy peasy for me again. And it becomes, instead of just training for what I'm doing, it becomes art again. As with all performance, you begin with creation and then you move into training, which is your rehearsal, et cetera, or working the show. The Tortugas call it their season of suck. For whenever we'd have a new show, we have a season of suck where the show is just god-awful and the crowds don't like it and we're losing money on it. And it takes about a season to get it all together. And then, we change a few lines, but the real thing that changes is just the timing. So that's what, for me, the motivational speaking is going to be all that training period. And then I will have that then it'll be art. And then it'll be fun performance. So that's my experience. Charles, do you have something on your end? Wait. Before we do this, I don't even see it up right now. Let me throw out there 813-413-7133 with your questions. Please call in. All of my listeners, all of my viewers who are here right now, feel free to call in 813-413-7133. And just before we move on to my question to Charles, I want to thank everybody for showing up here at the other side of live, and I really appreciate you coming here to stickcam.com/MordantWorld. Those of you who have friended me, thank you. And actually, I think you can follow it now. It's something I discovered. I'm like, oh, there's more than just friends. You're also subscribing to this, so you can do that when you're not finding me on Facebook and following me there. So Charles, what is the thing that is taking you out of your easy peasy? What is taking you out of your simple as you're chasing and catching your dreams?
Well, I mean, it's the whole video aspect of everything, and the desire to be bigger, better, more, and being around you, and you're very high energy and infectious, and you have more time than I do. Although you have your list about
whatever.
Your lists are about 10 times longer than mine.
Yeah. So you're saying I'm not getting as much done as you do? Curses.
I guess statistically, I don't know, but it's. Recently, I want to get everybody in the nation Well, one, I have a passion for podcasting, and I really want to help anybody who ever wants to talk about it do it. And two, I have a passion for when I discover somebody who really fits with my way of life and fits with my brand of entertainment, to not only get them where they want to go, which that's the number one passion in the nation, is not to have a hobby as a podcast, but to have a podcast as a business. I mean, we want to live the passion. That's our dream. All of us in the nation, we want to talk for a living. That's what we like to do. And some of us take it further and do more behind the scenes. And that's easy. I can do for other people. Is growing for myself. That's the hardest part. And just to keep it simple, the videos. I never even thought about doing YouTube videos until last year, and you came along and you were doing your vlog. So I said, that's a great idea. And of course I read the Gary Vaynerchuk Crush It, and he talked about video, and I've taken to video quite well. I enjoy doing the videos, but now I want to do the high def. I want it to look great. I want it to sound great. I want everything I touch in my mind has to turn to gold, but that's hard to do. And I don't want to be the guy on the crappy camera that is a tiny picture that looks like crap. I want to be the guy that has the HD camera with the logo floating in there and really cool stuff. And I just chasing that dream means instead of doing a little quickie phone camera vlog that would be boom, done, upload, I now have to spend hours and run into frustration and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Hopefully there's another side to this rainbow that I'm working so hard to get sometimes.
Yeah, you're learning how to do it. I think for you it is definitely you've moved beyond the creation thing, and now you're seeing how you work it. You've done podcasting for years now, and now you're just trying to learn how you can not just monetize this, but turn this into more than, you want to do the same thing that you're doing, but you want to, at the end of the day, you want it to be your business. You want it to, whether you're working in radio or podcasting or something like that, you're loving this. So, maybe you'll be doing movies or something, because I know you're talking to people that way, or the game thing. But you want this to be your business so that it evolves and feeds you as you're reaching out and helping other people. It feeds you as well. It feeds you. It feeds your family. It feeds your spirit.
Yeah.
And financially.
As for some people, let's say their dream is to be a rock star, not because they love music, but because they want to be rich and famous. And I really hate talking about money out in public about podcasting, because it's not about that. It's not about monetizing or trying to have something I like to do and get paid for it, but it's about living what I love. It's about living the passion, and you can't do that if you can't pay your bills, know. And so the money only comes in because that's what we need to live. If life suddenly took a left turn and we started trading junk that we had around the house, I could quit and be a podcaster professionally today. It's just a matter of we trade cash money, and I don't have a lot of that.
Right. It'd be one thing if suddenly we all talk about winning the lottery, but we know that's just poor man's taxes, or tax for the not so brilliant people. You make your own reality. You create your own reality. Luck comes at the end of hard work and preparation. Often we get those opportunities coming our way. First of all, we may not notice them unless we're really looking for them, but often we'll get opportunities that come our way, and we are not necessarily ready for them yet. So it's up to us to prepare to be in that space, so that when you do have that opportunity, when somebody comes to you, for me, preparing for doing podcasting, preparing for the live show was doing the vlogs. Preparing for motivational speaking was doing the vlogs, because it got me up in front of something, sure, a mechanical audience, but an audience, so that I was ready for an opportunity that would come my way. When I went to Toastmasters that one day, I prepared a speech just in case they needed a speaker, and it so happens that week their speaker was not available. So I prepared myself to be there, so I made myself ready for that opportunity that presented it. And the same thing for you. You're just readying yourself. It is up to all of us that to do that. Because catching your dreams, it's all fun and groovy until it gets down to work. And eventually, if you want to turn this into your life, to turn this beyond your passion into what you're devoting your life to, it becomes work at some point. Now, sure, it may be work that you love. and all the stuff that you don't love, you have to do it at the beginning, but then eventually you farm that out to other people so that the work gets done. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's you're right. I mean, that's the way it runs. It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to feel like you do a good job. I mean, it goes beyond. There are hobbies, and there's things. I mean, the question is always asked, right? What would you do if money wasn't an issue? What would you do if you could never fail? Which I know is one of the things you might want to suggest tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that for sure.
And there's a lot of answers, but you got to think about the answers. You really need to be, what would you do if the whole world was stacked against you? Because I mean, there's a lot of things I would do if I couldn't fail. I would love to make movies. I've always dreamed of directing a movie, not in a serious, I want to do that way, just that would be fun. I would love to drive race cars or, be the little boy and pick. Today I want to be an astronaut, there's a lot of things we'd love to do, but what would you really do when the world's stacked against you? And me, it's the passion I have is the podcasting. And it's so frustrating to put a lot of work and hit that moment of, I'm not where I want to be.
Right.
Time-wise, money-wise, celebrity-wise, whatever, however you measure it, I'm not where I want to be. And it's just, that's when you really hit that wall and you start getting discouraged. And if this is not a passion, if you're not dedicated, this is where you'll fall out. Right. Earlier today, we're talking, I had a story. I always thought I wanted to be in a rock band because really deep down, and this might help people, I know you want to get into, people have asked you, how do you know what your passion is? How do you know what your dreams are? And to get you into that, my little story is I always felt I had a message to share. I always wanted to say stuff to people. And I took the route of music because I loved music. And I could write songs. And it didn't work because I look back and go, well, I never put any effort into it. I mean, I had a band here and a demo there. And, but I wasn't like the bands who make it who have, well, like you're doing with the Morning World and like I'm doing with the podcasting now. It's, you don't sleep, eat, and drink that, and then it's not really your passion. It's something you'd like to do. But how I figured out what I really wanted to do was that kept falling apart time and time again. The band thing kept falling apart. Those around me, even though they were supportive, they weren't going, yeah, this is you, this is what you should do. But I always felt a connection with people. I could always talk to everybody I ever met, and I could usually meet them where they were. I could talk to them, find the connection in their lives that I could connect to. And that's how I figured out what my passion really was. It was all about talking with people, meeting where they are. And then even then, my wife, who at the same time when I was in the band, said basically my music sucked in a nice wife type way.
Oh, baby. Yes, you're so pretty, but your music, not so much.
It's the nice, oh yeah, sure.
No, you have a nice guitar.
Yeah, that's a pretty amp. Yeah. Exactly. But,
how's the music? Well, you look good. Yeah. You look rock and roll. Yeah, but how's it sound? Oh, I love you.
Almost word for word sometimes there. But when I started doing my first podcast, she didn't care for it either. Me and her brother were doing the stupid guy humor, over the top, trying to be funny stuff, which she hates in everybody. That's not her thing. But she always commented on how well I cut together the show, how well basically I put my production on it, not so much my editing skills as much as it was, wow, that was the perfect little, I used to cut out sayings from TV shows, and that was a little perfect saying for that moment. And I got so many comments on that obviously it was a little light that came on. It's like, well, nobody really gave a crap about my music, but everybody can connect with me personally. And now people are commenting on this thing that I don't think twice about. I listen to the world around me, to the people around me that I care about, and slowly but surely saw a way into what I loved. I had no idea that I loved being a producer. I had no idea that I loved doing I didn't even know what podcasting was originally, and that's how I found out what my dream was, by listening to those around me.
Right. Now, I want to hit a couple of things before it goes away. I'm going to come back to you, but before it goes away, Hello Kelly says she would like to be a pilot. And it would be nothing for you to take flying lessons. You know, sure, there's a cost to it, but I know she lives in the Atlanta area. I think there's a few airports there, for smaller planes. And actually, in Texas, years ago, I went up with a buddy of mine, with a couple buddies of mine, but this one guy had just learned to solo. So he took us up in a Cessna. And it was cool until I really thought about the fact that the pilot isn't somebody that I don't really know and can trust and feel safe with. It's this Yahoo who I've seen drunk and goofy that has my life in his hands. So that was a little freaky. But he attained that piloting thing. So hello, Kelly, that is definitely a dream that is possible if you decide to chase it and catch it. And as for you, you've always wanted to be. No, as for you, Charles, you've always wanted to be. You wanted to direct movies, etc. Their film school is not a long thing. I think that you can take film school and get out of it within a year. I think it's 2 6-month course. Not courses, but 2 6-month. Maybe 1 or 2 years. So it's something that you could actually look into and do to the point where you would learn camera work, you would learn scripting, you would learn all this other stuff in a matter of 2 years. 2. So if this is something that you say is really sure, you're following this other thing. I get it. You're following the podcasting, but the film thing sounds like you're that's me tapping the table. Sorry about the recording. But the film thing sounds like you're pie in the sky. Oh, that'll never happen. And I just want to let you know, it is so possible for you to do that. It is so possible for you to even maybe just take a few steps toward what you think is a pie in the sky dream for you. Now, before we get back into you answering all that kind of stuff, I want to throw out there again, everybody who is in the chatterbox, everybody who's watching us today, 813-413-7133, give us a call, and we will happily talk about your dreams, etc., 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 to quote the great Yul Brynner. I will keep talking. All right. And what was it?
I think something you touched on there. Something you touched on. I think your listeners, your fans, would really, because my first thought would probably be a lot of their first thoughts, which I think is most people's thoughts of, okay, my dream is so big, and yes, there are ways to get to it, but I have life. I have real life getting in the way. When you start talking 2 years of school, well, I'm the sole breadwinner in the house, and I really am spending 20 hours a week, like our good friend Tom, who does the game development.
You mean Shaden?
Yeah, I thought it might be him. I'm not going to call him out. But he works. He works, and he also chases his dream and puts a lot of time on what he does. That's my thing. Right now, I'm working 40 hours a week. I was doing 52, and they've cut that back. So I'm doing 40 hours a week on work, plus 20 to 25 hours a week on the nation, if not more, plus family time. You start talking about 2 years of school, I think most everybody who listens to you is going to go, uh-oh, what? I can't take away from X, Y, and Z to do 2 years of school. It just won't work. Now, that's not always the case, but that is the first thought. How do you answer that?
Right. Oh, that was my question.
Yeah, how do you answer that? Obviously, there are some ways around it, but how do you answer? Well, how do you deal with real life and chasing your dream?
You know what? There's two things to this side. There's two sides to this thing. I'm a big fan of, you've got to take care of your foundation. You've got to take care of what I call your bread and butter job. You've got to make sure that everything is good. Your bills are getting paid. Your family's getting fed. Everything is good. And then in your free time, and there will be no free time, as I've spoken to writers and other people, you will never have enough time to follow this dream. You will never have enough time to write your book. Never, never, ever, ever, ever. There will never be enough time. You have to move stuff aside and create that space. And that is, at the same time, allowing your foundation, your bread and butter job to take care of everything else. That's one side, and that's the side that I concentrate on. The other side, and this works sometimes for those people who burn their bridges completely, go out there and they go, okay, there's no turning back for me. And because of that, because they take that leap of faith and they do all the work, they have success there too. However, statistically, it is keeping with your foundation. Now, when I went to Thailand, I was studying a bunch of energy work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was also studying a form of Tai Chi. And one of the things that the people there teaching me were saying that, your Tai Chi is a reflection of your life. So whatever is wrong in your Tai Chi is also wrong in your life. And at that time, my problem was I was overextending. I was doing things so I was always off balance. And, I just, at that time as well, I had just learned about the law of attraction. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and follow everything. I'm going to do The Secret. And I was beginning to ignore using my credit cards to follow my dreams as opposed to taking care of business and not overextending that. So what happened is I've got a lot of, I've moved forward a lot, but I've got a lot of credit card bills now that I'm beginning to pay down via Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover. There's a good reference for you. For those of you with huge credit card bills. So I am a big fan of, listen, you take care of your foundation first, you take care of your bread and butter job, and in your free time that you create for you, then you begin moving with this passion, with this dream, which will later perhaps become your job. But you got to do it that way, because if you do it the other way, you may wind up losing everything and then not being able to do anything, and that sucks. So that's my, and remember, you can do both. It's not an either or. It's just how badly do you want this? And the universe or God or whoever else, whatever your beliefs, the divine, is going to ask you, how badly do you want this? Because then you're going to have all those hurdles to get over. And it's up to you whether or not they are a roadblock. You're going to have all these difficulties. The universe or God is going to say, how bad do you want this? Here's your first thing. You've got to be able to take care of your bills and do this. So you're not going to have much time. You're going to lose all your game time. You may lose a lot of your social time. You probably will. You're going to lose, all your TV time. How bad do you want this? So those people who are like, well, I don't have enough time to do this. Oh, really? Let's take a look at what you're doing in your free time. I was playing a lot of WoW. I was playing my Xbox. I don't play WoW anymore. And I make sure there's once in a while I'll think, oh, I'd really like to go back and check it out. No. I don't want to break that seal, so I relearn that it's fun. I don't play that much Xbox. In fact, it's not set up right now. And when I was in Georgia, I was like, tonight I'll go play Borderlands, which I loved. No, I don't have Angry Birds on my new phone. I don't have Angry Birds on my smartphone. Because in the meantime, I've got a website that I'm trying to put together that I have people working for me. They're waiting on material from me. I'm moving towards becoming a motivational speaker. I have a coach right now that's coaching me to do this. I have a ton of stuff that I need to do there. Instead, I don't have time for that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still taking care of my Tortuga stuff, and believe you me, when I let that fall through the cracks, I have two little monkeys that'll get up my butt and say, hey dude, what are you doing? You've got plenty of time for your Modern World stuff. Where's your Tortuga stuff? So I've got to make sure that's golden too. And that's part of the universe going, how bad do you want this? So that's what's going on in my life. That's how I'm doing it. It's kind of a balancing act between everything, but I make sure that the thing that's paying the bills, I'm doing that first. If I'm not doing it well, then I find a better way of doing it. Now it's like I try to take out 3 hours a day, the first 3 hours for Tortuga business, for my bread and butter job. Well, sure, it's creative, it's fun, but a lot of it is, I'm dealing with merchandising stuff. I'm dealing with, some of it's creative, but a lot of it is just paperwork and editing and blah blah blah. Writing. Some of it's not so fun. So I've set aside that. So hopefully that'll be the fix for that. Now, what's going to happen with the other stuff? Well, I have the rest of the day for that. Sure, I've got errands in the middle of the day, but at night when I used to be playing my WoW, when I used to be watching my TV, when I used to be playing my Xbox, that's when I get to do my Modern World stuff. So that's my answer for how badly do you want this? Now, I'm maybe not doing it perfectly now. There's still some rough edges, but I'm working on it. Are things falling through the cracks still? Yeah, a little bit, but I'm working on it. There's only so much I can do in a day. My journal that is often late is really due on the 25th, but we can start doing everything on the 20th. Mine's done today. I took care of that today. Tortuga stuff today. Tomorrow, I've got to get ready to go to Tacoma so that I, get ready for the movie shoot and all that kind of jazz. But in the meantime, I'm taking my computer with me because during the week, I'm cranking stuff out. I got Tortuga business, I got Mordant World business, blah, blah, blah. So if I can do it and my ADD brain can latch onto it, you can too. But I don't want to hear from people, oh, there's not enough time when you're watching TV. I get tired too. It's retraining yourself to do this. At first, you're not going to be able to do it from all TV to all work. It ain't going to, you're not going to make that transition. It goes in stages. So yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I've actually, while you were here, I actually got on you, not about work, but about relaxing. You have a hard time doing that, which a lot of people who aren't you with your ADD brain and your nuclear energy cell,
superpowers,
they'll get burned out. I mean, I find myself hitting those moments of not wanting to walk away, but wishing. That's where my idea of chasing your dream takes you out of simple, wishing for the simpler times. I can't, and it's not because of anybody else. Nobody's holding a gun to my head, but my internal drive won't really let me rest now. I can't just sit downstairs and play a game like you're talking about, because I'm going, well, I could be doing that list that I have. I can't just do my work and be happy anymore. I can't just sit outside and watch the kids play. I'm thinking they're playing for an hour, hour and a half. I can have a laptop and be doing some other stuff while they're doing this. I'm not saying taking away from family time. I'm just saying when I have downtime and my wife wants to watch a movie, it's hard for me to put away the laptop because I can be doing something else and watching the movie. But at the same time, I find that the more I do, the more like I feel like I'm not getting done. And you'll find that chasing your dream until you hit that ultimate goal of I'm getting paid to do this. When I'm getting paid to do this, now my job, my work is to sit down and spend 8-10 hours a day doing what I love instead of 10 hours of working for the man and another 2 or 3 hours of doing what I love. And that's when it'll be a simpler time. So you're going from simple to hard back to simple, essentially. I mean, I'm not as far along as you are, and I see you and your lifestyle because you work on the weekends and then you do that's your time. That's when you can't do anything else, is all I'm saying, is your weekend gig, right? And then you do other work, you're practicing, y'all are running the gigs, you're doing the journals on your fan pages, sometimes, little post on the fan pages. But you're doing all this other stuff, so when you're like, yeah, I can drive to Colorado and go to pod camp, you should come, I'm like, dude, you realize the logistics in my life right now, logistically, that's a nightmare. Whereas in your life, you're at the point of what you're doing that you go, okay, I can work it out a lot easier. And I think a lot of us want to get to that point. And even then, you're still not at the point of, this is what I do. You're still working your day job and your passion at the same time. I think I would have to say most people get discouraged before they ever get to the point of doing what they love.
Right. Now I want to talk about that discouragement because I see some chatter in the chatter box right now. First, I want to throw out again, if you want to call in and chat with us right now, it's 813-413-7133. It is a phone call away. It is on Skype, so it is easy peasy. 813-413-7133. On the chatter box, they're talking about what happens if you're afraid to do it. Was it the quote? So scared you're not doing amazing right off the bat. That keeps you, you won't know how amazing you can be until you try it, somebody else was saying. But remember, when you're first starting something off, you're not going to be, every master was once a disaster. T. Harv Eker, every master was once a disaster. You're going to start off, your first steps on this path are not going to be graceful ones. You're going to have to, it's more of a ready, fire, aim. It's not ready, aim, fire. And so when you jump into it, you're going to make mistakes. Now, I was watching, I think it's called The Actor Studio or In the Actor Studio. I can never get that right. And there was an actress there, and she was talking about how she was in college, and she was doing okay, but not really. And then she started sucking a lot, and she's like, you know what, I'm just going to quit. And her coach or her teacher took her aside one day and go, listen, you're in college, fail here. screw up here. Now is your time to do that. This is the time where you're supposed to be making your mistakes. Fail here so you can be great elsewhere. Now, where a lot of us are impatient, but when it comes to beginning with podcasting or video blogs or motivational speaking, your first steps are going to be graceless. Fail then, so that when you have a bigger audience, you have perfection then. Or not perfection, or even learning to embrace being imperfect. I'm going to add somebody to this. Hello, Tom Burns. Welcome to the other side of live.
Thank you. I wanted to say mostly spurred on by Rock Girl, because we are so very similar in the regard of, you know, being so scared of failing and not doing the most amazing thing you've ever done right off the bat. You know, that was me and still is me, really. I started my game design training and schooling scared to death that everyone was going to be better than me. Everybody was going to do these amazing things, and I'm going to be stuck here making crap, little flash games that nobody wants to play, nothing like that. And, you know, I found out that I'm not, I certainly wasn't the best student, but I wasn't terrible. Really nobody was. You can't be scared of that. You just can't let that kind of fear limit yourself. You know, you have no idea what you can do until you end up doing it. I guess that's the main point that I wanted to or say was that, you know, saying I'm scared because I can't do it perfectly. I'm scared because I might not make the most incredible thing.
Yeah, and how are you now? How are you at it now?
Lost audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How are you at it now? How are you at your game creation now and everything?
I can feel it's kind of a double-sided question, just kind of hoping that the cartoon is gonna end up going well, but no,
I'm not that good, but I've got some high rollers.
No, I mean, like I said, I'm no star designer, but you know, I started my own company after school. I'm working with you guys, with the Tortuga Twins. You guys are a big name. The things that we're doing with your game, we're getting a lot of great feedback on, both you know, from you and from you know, the beta, or not even beta testers, but the idea testers that we're using. And the other things that we're working on the side, you know, we've got a couple of other projects that we've been kind of slowly pushing along with, and we've got some big companies that are interested in it. So it's kind of validating our great ideas.
Right.
It's validating me as a designer. It's validating, you know, it's destroying the fears that I have. That even though everything that I'm making is not perfect according to me, people still love it. And that's what's important.
Absolutely. You know, you never know how good you're going to be in whatever field until you try it. I have a very dear friend of mine who in Florida, she was just a little rainy girl, named Kara. Just, you know, she was younger than all of us and everything. And then I don't know how the progression went, but it seemed like this. Then one day somebody says, hey, you should try to be a doctor. She's like, okay, I try to be a doctor. She became, you know, oh, look, I'm becoming, oh, you should try to be a brain surgeon. Oh, okay, I'll do it. And now she is just coming through as one of the first women to come through this program as she's doing her internship. She's one of the first women to become a brain surgeon. So, you know, that was her gift. But she, you know, she had to find it. You know, maybe she would have been great as a writer. Maybe she would have been great as a performer. Maybe she would have been great as an accountant. Who knows? But she found something that she had her passion wrapped around, and became the best of the best. One of the first women to ever do it. So that's a historical thing. So you never know until you try, and you have to fail at first. In the beginning, it's not, you know, there is no suddenly I'm great. because that's boring. Any of us who has, I talk about leveling up your life. Any of us who have played video games, and if suddenly you have, everything given to you and everything's handed to you and you've got all the successes and you've done all the quests and there's no challenge, I'm not playing that game anymore. It sucks. It's boring. So what's challenging to me? What's outside my comfort zone? That's what I'm going for. Sure, I'm going to go at it slow because I'm scared. But you know what? Suck it up. Move on. Feel the fear. Do it anyways. All these great quotes that I don't remember who said them.
Exactly. And kind of stemming off on that, I see Rock Girl post another comment about she hates failing so much that I talk myself out of even trying, and that's another problem that's kind of near and dear to me. I can't tell you how many games and projects that I said, nobody's going to like that. Nobody's going to want to play that. That's stupid. And it turns out when I go and talk to somebody else about it, it's like, oh, yeah, I just had a stupid idea for blah, blah, blah. I get, 10 out of 12 people saying, no, that's a great idea. You should totally do that. That's hilarious. Or that's awesome, or whatever it is. So, you can't decide what you're going to do, what you're going to suck at before you do it.
Right.
And
right,
now,
absolutely.
And now is that time. Now is that time to make the most epic Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure role-playing game. I'm just telling you, man. Now is that time.
Right on. All right, well, that's all I had, so I will hop off the line now.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for calling in. Again, anybody else who wants to, 813-413-7133. We are happy to talk to you. Either that or we're just going to continue talking to ourselves, which we're also content to do.
I really wish, I was thinking about this today, I really wish there was a Dave Ramsey formula for all hopes and dreams, but really in my case for podcasting. If I could work a podcasting snowball where I could just work it and work it and work it, and it just keeps rolling. And at least I know, like with the debt snowball, like you're going through, you and I are both going through Dave Ramsey. We found them separately. Neither one of us knew the other one was doing it. But we both applied that to our lives. And the thing that he has that really works is the debt snowball, where you start paying what you can't. You have this whole system, blah, blah, but you start paying and you see it getting lower. I can't tell you the difference it made in my life to see my credit card, and I didn't have more than one, but my credit card going from, oh my God, we'll pay on that for the rest of our lives, to, in like 2 years, we're almost done paying it. I need that for my hopes and dreams. If I could just work my podcast and work my nation, my group of podcasts, and just know that in 3 years, as long as I keep at it and I work it, I'll make it. There is no make it in life. I mean, not really. Right. Even with movies, games, music, anything that we do, there's some people's destination have made it. Okay, let's say you become a big movie star. We're joking about Lou Diamond Phillips on the Road Show tonight. I mean, he used to be in the 80s, he was the name. Now he's lucky to get a TV show. So, I mean, you make it and you fall. Other people have different. My idea of made it is I can just sit here and do what I love, period. But there's no system like that, is there?
Well, you know what? I think for you, the next obvious choice is to find a mentor. Find somebody who is not just in podcasting, but is at a next few levels up higher than you. I remember listening, it was Jack Canfield who was talking about, he has a mastermind group, and I think Anthony Robbins was in it. And they were all making, let's say they're all making $1 million a year, except for Anthony Robbins. He was making $10 million a year. They're like, well, what's the big difference? How do you do it? And he's like, well, you hang out with guys that make, $1 million the same as you. Who do you hang out with? They're like, well, we hang out with the same kind of guys, our peers, $1 million a year. He's like, yeah, well, I hang out with guys who are making $50 million a year, and it's pulling me up. So you want to find a mentor who is successful in the business, who is doing exactly what you want to do, a few levels up, or even more levels up. And eventually you're going to start imitating what he does, learning from him or her, and then moving up to that level. I think that's how you do it. It's not a book. It's not a total money makeover book, but it is finding somebody who's been successful at it, just like David Ramsey was with fixing his credit. You find somebody who's been successful at podcasting, for me, motivational speaking, for somebody else acting or filmmaking, and you learn from them. And you approach them and go, hey, look, I'll work for you for free in my off time. Well, you need your laundry done, you need your whatever. You need somebody to run errands for you. As long as I can go around with you and you'll teach me how to attain that next level. Now, we have another caller in, 727. Hello, 727.
Hi, it's Alison. How are you?
Allison, you sound very quiet. Are you okay?
No, I'm getting over a terrible cold.
Oh, well, bless your heart.
I know. Hey, I think that the stuff that's going on in the chat room is really neat. People are really affirming each other, and there's a lot of don't worry about the fear, and keep moving, and everybody should try something for the first time, and we're all going to suck, and then we're going to keep going and everything. One of my challenges when listening to a motivational speaker or when reading a motivational book is it's hard for me to take away specific tools and specific practices. And I know that you right now are moving in your life from a kind of scattershot approach where it's just, as many opportunities as you can get your hands on into a more focused method of, okay, I want to have a book and I want to have a book in 12 to 18 months. Can you talk a little bit about breaking down jobs into specific steps so that when you have this dream, you can think about, okay, well, I want this dream, but it's not a goal unless it has specific steps.
Yeah, absolutely. A dream. If you don't have a plan to move towards, thank you, Allison. Thank you very much. If you don't have a plan to move towards something, it is just a dream, and it might even just be a pipe dream. But it's certainly not. It's certainly not your goal. You're not moving towards it. I'm a big fan of baby steps, because we're all you look at the big picture and you become a little freaked out. Oh my God, I can't do that. I'll never be that good. I'll never be in the movies. It's too much. Or speaking in front of thousands of people, I can't do that. Well, no, you can't, because you're not there yet. It's just like going to a gym and you're not going to lift the 100-pound weights. You're going to start with the 5-pound weights and work your way up. That's how you do that. But you set up what I like to call a roadmap. You set up your baby steps into, first, this is my first step here. And then I'm going to do this step here, and then I'm going to do this step here. You line all those out. In any day, I will have a lot of stuff written down on my note cards, and I'll have those steps written out of what I'm going to accomplish that day. Now, of course, I've got my goals that I am moving towards, and actually I have somebody working with me on that, and I've asked for, please give me a roadmap with this is my first step, because I found that when I'm writing all the stuff out on the cards, it doesn't do me as good, because I'll be like scatterbrained doing whatever else. I'll get back to the card and I'll go, I don't know what I want to do. So it kind of just, and then I'll find something else to distract me. But if I come back to the card and I'm like, there's number one. I said that was number one. That's the thing I'm working on. Now, sure, I can adjust it if something else makes more sense on the fly. Not a big deal. The same thing with your life, the same thing with your goals. You want to have this is my first step, this is my second step, this is my third step. There's a thing called, it's either the Merlin effect, or I never get it right. It's the Merlin something, because Merlin moved back in time. And the way you apply this to your goals is you will think, okay, what does it look like when I'm at this goal? I'm a big movie star. Okay, so what was the step that happened just before that? And what was the step that happened just before? And you backtrack it. You go backwards. I'm a huge motivational speaker. Well, then just before that, I did this. And then just before that, I did this. I'm an author. Oh, look, just before that, I did a lot of book signings. Well, just before that, I was working with my publisher. Well, just before that, I was, getting my book to a publisher. Well, just before that, and you back it all the way up to where you are now. So you have kind of a roadmap. Now that's just beginning. You can really fine tune it as you go, because as you move forward with your dream, which it will become a goal, as you move forward with this, you will learn that, this step is required here. In the beginning, you can't see that because you're way back here thinking, I don't even know what my very first step is. My very first step is to Google, how do I find out more about this? And then as you move forward, you're going to see other steps that you need to take. So then you begin filling in the blanks. And your roadmap may start off with 5 things. Eventually, it's going to get to 25 things. But as you're growing into that, as you're growing into being able to handle that and handle those whatever problems you're going to face, whatever hurdles you have to go over, whatever training you're going to have to get, because that's all problems really are. It's just training. You can look at it like God's out to get me, the universe is out to get me. Bullshit. It's just training. And if you use it that way, you're going to be able to work your way up to become the kind of person you need to be the movie actor, or to be the motivational speaker, or to be the podcasting guru, whatever it is, whatever you're dreaming, to be the pilot, which is very attainable. Whatever that is, you know, you're going to grow into that as you start dealing with these problems. So bigger problems are actually better for you because it means that, look, you're able to handle that. Now, I believe that's what you were talking about, Alison.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you speak very specifically about what you're doing rather than in more general inspirational terms.
Yeah, for me, I got I want to call a mentor. It's more of a manager, a person who's working with me, who's able to throw out a roadmap because I'm like, well, I don't know what to do next. I need somebody who's going to go, this is number one, this is number two, or at least give me those points. So I'm like, this is where you go. Here's your roadmap. Now, as I'm progressing in it, I may find out, oh, wait, there's this needs to happen as well. And I'll throw that into the mix. Right now, everything is, although I'm seeing a huge lot of things that need to be done, we're focusing on a very small, you know, the smaller version. Just these things by this date. Oh, I can do that. And looking at that, those are relatively easy things. I thought it was going to be a lot more on my plate right now when everything's happening. No, it's not like that. You know, you give yourself a break too. You know, there's a lot that can be said for underachieving to success. You know, you don't want the big plate of food and you're looking at it, it's too big, I'm not going to be hungry anymore. You want to look, oh, I just want my peas. And if I eat my peas, I'm still hungry. And then, so that means I can eat my steak next. And that means I can eat my potatoes next, or whatever it is. You know, I'm just going to go these small things, and you're kept hungry moving towards these goals.
So do you think that overreaching can be just as dangerous as not trying hard enough?
You know what? That's a good question because I don't want to tell people not to have big dreams and not to have big goals. I think you need to one step at a time it. But there's something, you know, some people who take that chance, some people who move forward and go, I have an opportunity to do this, I'm going to try it. For me, it was the Oprah thing, where she has Oprah's own network, Oprah Winfrey Network, you know, record something and send it in, and then have people vote on your, you know, what your show is going to be. I did that. I did that because I had been doing vlogging for maybe about, I don't know if it was 6 months or 3 months. I had been doing it, and I looked at that and I'm like, oh, it's just doing another vlog. I can do that. True, I had a friend of mine work on it and she recorded it, and you know, we worked it all out and it was all edited out. But it was so that I could prove to myself I could do that. And who knows who's going to see that, and who knows who, you know, we always talk about, oh, that one thing's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Well, maybe on the positive nature, this thing's going to come back and, you know, bite me in the butt. I don't know. Where somebody will say, you know, I saw that and I want you to work on this show now. You know, I saw that thing. At the very least, it was a hurdle I had to get over to move forward. I could have said, oh, no, I don't want to do that. But then I would have been stuck with those feelings of feeling inadequate, not being able to, you know, oh, look, I can't accomplish anything. I would feel bad about myself. Oh, I'm just like I always was. Oh, I can never do this. You know, at the very least, I don't have that I have to deal with now. Now it's like, oh, I can do that. And this is what that looks like. Now, maybe I wasn't successful getting that show, but it certainly moved me forward with, you know, what all the other projects I'm doing.
Do you ever just get overwhelmed with the different things you want to do?
Dude, all the time. Are you kidding me? I quit stuff now. Whip cracking. I was learning that for over a year or so. And I think I know I've used this example before because I repeat myself. Whip cracking. I was using cracking. I was using that. Practicing with that. I have my own whips, and then in Arizona this year there's a guy who makes nylon whips, and they're nice looking and they're not that expensive, and I took some of his and I went to the stage and I was playing with them, and I'm like, you know what, the potential time that I could be spending working on my whip cracking is time that I should be spending working on my motivational speaking, working on a new book, or working on the live show. So I made a conscious decision, I will not learn to do this. I quit this.
But I'd say that's different than you getting discouraged against. Let's say, because you mentioned many times you're working on a book. You like the book. You would love to do a show. You'd love to be a motivational speaker. And there's different steps for all of these things. You get discouraged at chasing these main dreams, not not the side stuff that makes you quit, but the actual dream, the more that world dream.
Do I get now? You asked if I got overwhelmed. Are you asking if I get overwhelmed or if I get discouraged?
I guess a little of both. Do you get overwhelmed chasing down Mordant World? And
Hell
do you get
yes.
discouraged sometimes.
Of course I do. Well, I used to be a waiter. Before I was, even while I was beginning to go on the road, I would pay for my summer touring habit by waiting tables. So I used to be a waiter, and there was a time where we were in the weeds, and I worked at Cha Cha Coconuts at the top of St. Pete Pier. And the thing that was awful about that, it wasn't the venue or anything, is that they spread us out because they wanted to be fair about who got good tables. Unfortunately, you spread us out so much, and when we got slammed, we got slammed. And there was times where I'd be by the register trying to remember everything and just trying to breathe and calm down. I was so overwhelmed and freaked out. I hated that part of the job. Do I get that? Yes. When I remember doing Tortuga Palooza. And Jeff has had the same experience. I'm sure Ron did too. There's a moment where you're just like, right now, I am freaking out. You can't see it on the outside, but there's just so much to do that I don't know if it's going to happen. And the quote from Shakespeare in Love, well, how does this work out? I don't know. It's a mystery. It's true. When you're doing theater stuff, you don't know how it's going to all work out. Everything's crashing around you. Somebody calls in sick. Somebody gets hurt, whatever. And yet it all works out. How does that happen? I don't know. It's a mystery. But it does work out. So yes, with Mordant World and Tortuga Twins, when I'm juggling all of that stuff, does that get overwhelming? Absolutely. I take a breath. I meditate. I work on one thing at a time. And that helps. Not letting things, trying not to let things fall through the cracks, not putting off till the very last minute anything that I have due, i.e. my Tortuga journal, which is done before everybody else right now, and I don't have to worry about it till the next month. I'm not late, I was early. So that helps take the pressure off me, especially when I'm flying out to some place where I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks and I'm not going to have my normal access to stuff that I usually do. So do I get overwhelmed? Absolutely. But then that's just a problem that I'm going to grow into. And eventually these things that are overwhelming me, I'll be like, not a big deal. Or I'll learn to delegate them, which is something I've begun doing. Instead of all this stuff, I have to create copy for this and this and this, and I'm not sure how to do that. Why don't I pay a professional to do this? And they give it back to me, and I can look at it and go, change this and this and this, and we're done. And it gets done. I love that. So you learn other tools. Not only are you going to grow into whatever you're doing, but you learn other tools, whether it be, movie actor or any of the other things that we talk, motivational speaker, pilot. You'll learn how to juggle your life better as you do it. It's like riding a bike, or it's like learning to dance the salsa, which I have not mastered yet. I can do the jump, jive, and wail, all that stuff. But the salsa, I can't. You're like, I've got to move this way and turn my hand this way. At the same time, I'm moving my feet. I can't do that. Eventually, your body starts remembering everything, and then you put it all together. It's the same thing with this. You're going to be not able to swim. You're going to be, just treading water. You're going to be freaking out. But eventually, your body starts getting it. Your mind starts clicking into it. And suddenly you're moving everything at once. You're like, I've got this. This is easy. This is great. And then you have other stuff that you're facing. That's the overwhelming thing. Do I get discouraged? I think you could tell by the tone of my voice that yes, I do. But not as often as I used to be. I mean, I've got, because of my affirmations that I do, and when my brain starts getting discouraged, I go to that. No, this is what's happening. And realize, too, that right now I'm reinventing my life. So I've got a lot of bounce in my step. Instead of, I'm just skating on my Tortuga laurels and this is all I'll ever be, I'm moving towards a bigger stage, something that's really, really got me excited. And the Tortugas are beginning, as you heard us talking with Tom, we're moving on to something else as well with the game and things like that. So, yeah, I get discouraged, but it doesn't last as long because I'm looking at myself not as somebody who's moving towards the end of the life. I'm at the beginning of my life, at the beginning of this stage of my life. And it's not that things, I know things are going to work out because they do. Because even when bad stuff happens, it's happening. I can use that to happen for a reason. It's either teaching me stuff, i.e. it's training, or it's going to, put something in me that I'll be able to help somebody else down the line. So yeah, I get discouraged, but not for as long. as I used to. It doesn't, yeah, I get knocked with a punch, but not as long as I used to be. So there. Something else I want to talk about. I'm going to throw out there one more time. We still have Alison on the phone. I'm going to get back to her in just a second. 813-413-7133. I do want to talk about how do you know what your dream is in just a minute. But 813-413-7133. Alison, how you doing?
I'm enjoying listening. You're doing a lovely job of being specific. I mean, I think that's my main challenge with a lot of motivational speakers is I find that they don't get specific.
Right, and that's something that I'm going to have to work towards because I'm very off the cuff, and here's the, I do better when I have points. You know, hey, you should have 3 points. You should talk about, you know, name your question, have 3 points, answer the question, call to action. Do I have that kind of stuff? No, I've done it a couple of times, and it works much better. So that's something that I get to learn to do. Am I there yet? No, but eventually.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Cool. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it. I should get off the phone so somebody else can call in.
Thank you very much, Alison, and thanks for joining us here on The Other Side of Live.
Thanks. I can't wait to watch the rest. Bye.
All right, one more time. Go ahead.
Go ahead, hit the number. And then
one more time, 813-413-7133. Rock Girl has put it in the chatter box. You can see it there. You can call in. What are you talking about, Charles?
What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about?
What is your dip? You've talked about Seth Godin and the dip and how, you know, getting past. What has been your dip in all of this?
Okay, let me reiterate. Yes, most of this conversation tonight is, you know, read Seth Godin, The Dip. Please God, he talks about how, you know, you have natural ability in something that you want to do, your dreams, your passion, whatever it is, and then the dip is when you're going to the other side and it's all the stuff. You get to a point where you're like, wow, this is work now. It's not fun anymore. I have to really learn if I want to become a consummate guitar player. I have to really spend a lot of time rehearsing. It's work. I'm losing social time. I'm not getting to play my games. It's work. You know, if I want to become a writer, I have to hone my skills. And then there's all the time I'm spending alone with my computer writing. It's work. Of course, that's why it's a dip, because not many people make it all the way through. So on the other side, you have, you know, the fame and the fortune and all that, because there's a scarcity of people over there. Most people are like, I'd love to do this. Oh, it's work. I just want to do that. I don't really want to do it. I just want to. So what is my dip? You know, honestly, you know, figuring out what I want to say. Figuring out what I want to say. You know, I'm talking about leveling up your life, and that is going to be of my first speeches, among my first speeches. Putting that into a 40-minute speech. Putting that into 45-minute speech, and then after that I can answer questions. Working, you know, for getting copy together and all the stuff I need to do for my website so I can advertise that in my coaching. You know, as far as coaching going, getting more training so that I'm more useful in my coaching. You know, for motivational speaking, going to things like Toastmasters so I can speak more eloquently and not eloquently and not say things like as much, even though I do it. See right there. For me, vlogging in the very beginning, I would punctuate everything with twitchiness, and I still do it once in a while. It's annoying to me, but you know, I've come a long way. Those are the things. It's the paperwork, and it's definitely a quote unquote paperwork, because it's not necessarily a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of work on the computer, and I've got to put this together, and I've got to rehearse that. Rehearsing. Ooh, I'm not a big fan of that. Can't I just do it and know it? Can I just riff it and it'll be great? Not if I want it to be great. You know, it was the Malcolm Gladwell in The Outliers talks about to become the best of the best. You know, they did a study, and it talks about to become the best of the best, 10,000 hours. You know, to move, you can be a teacher at 1,000. You can be in a mid-level, and it was with violin players, I believe, mid-level, you know, concert group, orchestra. I can never remember the word orchestra, and I don't know why. Orchestra. That's 5,000 to 8,000 hours. Become the best of the best in the world. 10,000 hours. What are you going to dedicate your life to for 10,000 hours? First of all, is that passion worthy of your life? You know, you better make sure. And is it really your passion? Because it's going to get to be work. If you really want to do it, if you're not just, hey, it's a hobby of mine and I'm skating through life and it's kind of fun. If you want it to be more than that, if you really want it to be your life, if you really want to, like J.K. Rowling, 1990, started writing the Harry Potter series. 10 years, she touched the world. If you really want to touch the world, if you really want to go global, 10,000 hours. What are you going to do for that? What are you going to pick? What are you going to choose? You know? And a lot of people ask, what?
You make it sound so awesome to just go out and chase your dreams.
It does, yeah, but it's work. It's work. There's a point where it just stinks on ice, to quote Mel Brooks. You know, I was like, I don't want to do that. Can I just relax? Like last night, I got home from Chippewa Falls, from the festival I was doing out there, and really I had it in my mind, I'm going to work some more. I got a few hours I can do stuff. I was toast, dude. I fell asleep on the couch. It was much needed sleep. So, you know, but if I wish I'd gotten those hours in, I would have, and most of my day today was working on the Tortuga Journal. It took me a while, probably just about 3 or 4 hours, but still, that's a long time. You know, it's work. It's work keeping up with everything. But I love what's happening. I have a lot of fun here. You know, we do everything because it feels good. You know, this feels good. So how do I make it feel better? I work it so I can become the best of the best, and that's what you should be doing as well. 813-413-7133. We are at the 1 hour mark, and I seriously want to talk about, how do you know what your dream is?
Let's get to it. Do it. How do you know?
That question's coming up a lot, and one of the tools that I use with people, and I did this the other night with a woman that was at the wrap party for the Chippewa Valley Renaissance Fair, and we were just talking, and you know, I threw at her, you know, if you could be anything. That's the question you ask yourself. If you can be anything and you knew you would not fail, what would you do? And then you give yourself the freedom to fantasize a little bit. You know, just say that you have the talent, you have the money, you have the looks, you have the ability, whatever that thing is. You have that in you already. It doesn't matter if you want to be something silly like an astronaut, or if you want to be a ballerina, or if you want to, you know, I want to be an Olympic gold medal winner. It doesn't matter. Give yourself the freedom to think that way. If you could be anything and you knew you would not fail, what would you do? And then once you say, okay, this doesn't mean that I'm going to do this. Hello, Kelly says she's going to be a pilot. So do it. It doesn't mean that you're going to do this. You don't have to. You baby step it then. What's the first step in doing that? A lot of times it's going to be going back to the internet. Go back to the internet and find out if there's any classes on being a pilot in your area. There are, Kelly. So you baby step it toward. If you're 82 years old and you want to be an astronaut, you know, John Glenn, I think, was the oldest astronaut at 72, 70 something. So maybe you're not going to become that, but you can get into a club or a group that does stuff with you know, the space race. Who knows? Start moving forward. And T. Harv Eker talks about there being a hallway. You're standing at a door of opportunity. You're standing at a door of something you want to do. You go down that hallway, into that door, down the hallway, and suddenly there are other doors that you could not see from the door. There are other rooms and other hallways. So you don't know that, you know, joining that club to become an astronaut might lead you into something else that you've always wanted to do, or something that where you are actually very close to being that astronaut or that ballerina or whatever.
Sharon has a great thing here for you. Does it scare you to know that people really listen? I mean, really listen to what you say?
I'm getting used to it. I'm growing into it. I learned something last year. It makes me responsible with what I say. I learned something last year. I had, it was in Minnesota. It was at the end of the festival, and we'd already done the Mordant World meetup. And somebody came up to me, a woman came up to me, and she had been at the Mordant World meetup and everything. And I'm in my tights and everything. I'm like, yeah, hey baby, how you doing? Yeah, hey baby, yeah. And then she's trembling, and she starts to give me this gift. And I realize in my head that, oh, she doesn't want to talk to Raphael. She wants to talk to Mordant. That facet, I am both things, but that facet of my personality. So I went from, yeah, baby, me too, baby, to, yes, how are you? You know, I mean, it was a mental inside transition. And it taught me that that I am really affecting people out there. Or at least what I'm saying is I'm a catalyst. You're doing the work. You're connecting to the quantum. You're stirring the quantum soup. You're connecting to the divine. You're the person who's making that miracle happen in your life. You're the person who's chasing and catching your dreams. You're stirring the quantum soup by your own belief system, changing not just your conscious belief about yourself and your conscious thought, but your subconscious thought, moving it towards a positive. So that when opportunities come your way, you see them. You're like, no, that's one of my goals. I have to pay attention. It's not, oh, I can do it later. So you're the person who's doing that. But I'm realizing that I'm a catalyst. I channel a lot of this stuff, and it is affecting people. And you know what? It's affecting me. We teach what we most want to learn. We teach what we most need to learn. It's affecting me too. I listen to stuff that comes out of my mouth as well. Sometimes in disbelief, but sometimes in yeah, I got to pay attention to that. Yeah, I got to do that. Especially when I re-listen to these when in the podcast version. I'll go back and listen to everything and go, oh wow, there's a good point. And often it's not me that's making that great point that affects me, but sometimes it is. So it doesn't scare me anymore. It was unnerving in the beginning. It was a little, it's at a different level of vibration. So I'm acclimating to that, and now I'm getting more comfortable with that. With you, who a lot of people who I'm seeing week after, every other week, I'm seeing a lot of the same people. So it's like I have my, it's like we have our friends here, and that's that's what's going on with that.
I like what the movie guy's talking about. You don't know what your passion is sometimes until you shake somebody's hand and they introduce you to new people who want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I think he's a great example of, he's done all kind of things. I've gotten to talk to him recently personally, and it's something that you guys will get to learn about later. But essentially, he's done what we've all done. We work. We take the path that's laid out before us. We find something we like. Like he and I have in common, we love computers, and we both got certifications. This is different and better in mine, but we got certifications. He got a job in it. I never actually pursued that path, but we found interests like most people do. You find something interesting to do, because who really wants to get up every morning dreading going to work? I say when you're at the point of dreading going to work, find something else to do. Because you're stealing. You're stealing from the company. You're stealing from yourself. You're not doing your best job. But that's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother Mortal World show right there. But he found, but his passion, I mean, you talk to him for 5 seconds, and you know why it's called the movie guy. Because he loves movies, and not in that arrogant, condescending way of, I know every credit for every movie. I happen to know that Hugh Ford was listed in the Clerks movie, or I forget which one he was listed in. But, it's not that condescending Roger and Ebert kind of way. It's just this, I have a love for this. And immediately you see him and go, well, surely you work with movies. You work for at least Blockbuster refilling the kiosk or something. And no, I mean, it's just his passion. I think that's one of the things how you know what your dream is what is it that you would just talk about? You meet a perfect stranger and you stay up till 4 a.m. talking about it. Or what is it that you would share with somebody you found out they had that interest? My wife loves Scrabble. She loves freaking Scrabble. She will play a million people who are better than her just so she gets better. And maybe she'll never make money. You never know. But just because you have a dream doesn't mean you have to get paid for it. Maybe chasing your dream or doing what you love will let you get up every morning and go to that job, because you realize, like I did, now that I actually have my hands on my dream, that job is paying for it. I'm happy about my job now, when I really hated going there in the first place when I wasn't chasing my dream.
Right, absolutely. You never know. One of my affirmations is, I am so happy and grateful that I'm attracting ideal people and divine relationships into my life. And as soon as I started doing that, and you don't just say it, you really need to feel it. That's the trick with affirmations. You really need to feel it, because that's what's connecting you to the quantum soup and all that stuff. And the woo, watch What the Bleep Do We Know, and you'll figure it out. Anyways, you really feel it, and you bring it almost to the backside of your brain, and as soon as I started doing that, I started noticing the people in my life. B, I started trusting the people in my life because they're the ideal people and divine relationships are being created. And it started opening doors. That's when you and I started getting together about doing, with the podcasting, everything. That's, when you came into my life and other people were, that has brought Modern World forward. So that's one of my favorite ones. Another of my favorite ones is I'm so happy and grateful that life, God, the universe is always out to help me and ever conspiring to bring me good, as opposed to life's out to get me and is conspiring against me. It's always out to help me and ever conspiring to bring me good, so that when I have a flat tire, it may lead me to something, maybe an experience or a mental, epiphany or a heavy, or it may just lead me to meet somebody that I needed to meet, or maybe I needed to be detained. Or something bad, quote unquote bad happens, and it's something that I needed to learn. I needed to grow and learn how to do that so I could A, help myself later with that in my toolbox, or B, help somebody else out with that in my toolbox. Ever conspiring to bring me good. It's just part of my belief system now.
I wanna plug something for podcasting here in general. Kimberly 1013 response to what I said. She says, I haven't considered it that way. If I would stay up all night talking about it just to talk about it, there are things I do that with. I wonder if I should pursue any of it. And it really honestly comes down to what you mean by pursue. I'll just be honest with you. I am tired as hell right now. I'm somewhat discouraged about a lot of different things that are going on in my life. I'm hitting a lot of that dip that we're talking about. And it's fun to talk to people like Morta and people like the movie guy who have that fresh view of it. You're going to hit some walls. But the thing about podcasting in general is, even if it's not something you can pursue to do as a living, even if it's not something that you can start crafting and selling on eBay, a lot of people go, well, I love the movie guy. I love movies. And I'm sure he has a hard time finding people who love to hear about it as much as he does. But you can sit down with any kind of recording device and just talk all day long about what you love. And I guarantee you put it up on some podcasting site and you will find a dozen people who love it as much as you do. And he will share that passion. It's like knitting groups back in the day. You'd find those people who do the things you like, except the world lives on the internet now. You can do that or you can find a podcast that's already talking about what your passion is, and you can listen and participate that way. I mean, right. I love podcasting, and there are knitting podcasts out there. Thank you very much. I can find you almost any podcast on anything you ask for. You give me a week.
I want to throw out there for those of you who have certain passions, whether it's wanting to become a pilot or knitting or whatever, meetup.com, or you can go and just hit Google Meetup and then whatever that extra thing is that you want, knitting, or I've actually done law of attraction, and you put in your zip code and it will find meetup groups in your area that have similar tastes in whatever it is you're following. And then when you go to those groups, then you start connecting with people on, here's how I do this, here's how I do this, and you're like, wow, I never thought of that. Well, you mean I can really, there's opportunities out there, or jobs, or groups out there that I can connect with and share my life with my my passion with the rest of them. Then I get new friends. That's awesome. Meetup.com. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, and it works better if you're in more metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
If you're out in the sticks, not as much.
Don't let it just, you're saying that because you haven't tried it. You may be right, but you haven't tried it, have you?
I tried it a little bit. I did.
I tried it once.
I tried. Yeah, they didn't want to knit motorcycle cozies, so I said, damn, this.
I bet you knit those. You could sell them on Etsy.
All right. Well, you got some more to add there, or
I'm gonna throw in. Listen, I'm gonna throw in a call to action. I want everybody who is not sure about your dream, I want you to sit down and take 15 minutes. Find a quiet space where you can just be alone with you and your thoughts, and ask yourself, if I could do anything and I would not fail, what would I do? And to have a pad of paper and begin writing down the ideas. And if you can, write down 20 ideas. That may seem like a lot, and the thing is your brain starts working and connecting and doing all this kind of stuff. And at when that last 5 where it's like, oh, it's really, I don't know what else I would want to do, that last 5. If you don't want to do 20, you can do 15. But it'll be that last 5 that are really probably the juicy things. And then pick, your top 3, Maybe 20 is too many. You can do 10 if you want. I'd say 15. Pick your top 3. And then find 5 baby steps to begin each of those 3. And then pick your top 1 off of that. So that's your call to action in the next 2 weeks. And you can throw up what you found out. You can throw up your ideas on facebook.com/MordantWorld. And those of you who are joining us or who are listening to this, feel free, please, to come over to facebook.com/MordantWorld and like us there. Soon, by the end of this month, MordantWorld.com will be up. That's what I'm going to say, because that's what I'm being told.
I believe that's going to happen.
Whether I likes it or not, it's going to be up. So you'll be able to listen to these podcasts, and I think we are. The Other Side of Live is on iTunes, although it is hard to find.
Yeah,
because there is a The Other Side of Life, which is I think haunting people. There's haunting people out there.
With iTunes, we both searched it just to play with it, and I found that once you searched it, you had to scroll down to the podcast section, and it's actually the 3rd podcast listed. But you have to scroll down past TV and past music.
You're right.
iTunes kind of sucks, but right now, until we can get the website up, that's the easiest way to find the show. Once the website's up, you can just go to the podcast page, and the subscription will be right there for you. Easy peasy.
So I want to thank you, Charles, for being my co-host in The Other Side of Live. I want to thank Rock Girl for helping out in the chatterbox, and Sharon Watson, who is my team member, who always helps out, especially on the weekends, with my quotes and affirmations. I want to thank Alison Williams, who can be found at angelsintheair.com or Stand Up 8. She does a bunch of different things. Part of that is entertaining. Some of it is managing, and she's actually helping me with motivational stuff. So I want to thank everybody in the side panel. Bear Crawling, who I can't say. Hello, Kelly. Hugh Four, Shaden, our own Tom Burns, Detached Lotus, Kendall. Thank you for showing up. And I think that's about it. You got anything else for us, Big C?
No, I think you should say your phrase. But
meet us again. When is it? Well, I will do that. Well, when is the next one supposed to be? What's 2 weeks from now?
It is 14
2 weeks
days.
from now on that's right. It is July 5th. Holy cow. It is July 5th. I think I'll be on the boat still in Tacoma. It is July 5th. Join us then. So we will be doing another, I think this is working out great, Q&A variety show. We'll see what we're going to be talking about. Maybe me and the movie thing. Or, catching your dreams as far as travel and stuff like that. Or the 4th of July. We'll be talking about that. So that's right, July 5th. We will see you here at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Do the math on your own for the rest. On The Other Side of Live. Thank you for showing up. Ciao, dream catchers. Hey, soul sister, ain't that Mr. on a radio, stereo, the way you move, baby, no. Hey, soul sisters, I